Hello everybody and welcome to the Fitness Reloaded Habits Academy. Today we will be discussing gravitophobia. So that is what happens when you're afraid to weigh yourself. So we'll talk about the 4 reasons this might be happening and what to do to get over it so the scale does not have to control your mood, your days, or your weeks. So let's get started with reason number 1. The first reason is lack of understanding with what happens with water weight and also what happens with weight loss in general. So let's say if you step on the scale and the scale is 3 pounds up and now you're worried that you gain 3 pounds. Well, that's not exactly how it works because this might have to do with simply your water weight and has nothing to do with your fat. Now, some people don't even want water weight and that might have to do a little bit with reason number 2, but let me just say with water weight that it doesn't mean anything. It's like, imagine having a slice of bread, okay, and you drench it in water, okay? This is my slice of bread and this is my little water droplets. Now, this slice of bread will become heavier, okay, because now it has absorbed water. And then when it dries, it will just go back to becoming lighter because it let go of the water. And it's the same thing that happens with your body. Actually, the slice of bread example I just brought up, I brought it up for a reason. And that is why one of the reasons that increase your water weight is the amount of stored carbohydrates in your body. So if you go watch my water weight video, and if you haven't yet, please go watch it. You will understand the things that affect our water weight. It doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything, whether it's up or down. And if you're thinking, oh, I don't want even my water weight to be up, why? Like, for example, one of the things that increases or decreases your water weight is your menstrual cycle. Like, would you want your body to not do its job or just, not as good of a job because you don't want it to be adjusting the water weight of your body? Like, that just makes no sense. Like, you don't want your body to function properly so that your weight will not go up or down. Like, you have to realize that the scale is not measuring your body fat. It's not a body fat measurement. It measures your weight. So those two things are different things, okay? And on any given basis, especially if you're trying to lose weight, if let's say you're trying to lose a pound of fat a week, that will come down to around 0.14 pounds on a daily basis. This is so small that the scale cannot pick up on. So if you step on the scale and it's 3 pounds up, it doesn't mean that you gain 3 pounds of fat. It just doesn't mean that because it can't. Go watch my water weight video if you haven't yet done that. You need to be very clear about how that works so that goes out of your mind. And the best way to look at weight and the numbers that the scale gives you is to not take into account an individual measurement on its own. So for example, what we do at Fitness Reloaded is we weigh ourselves every day. That is while we're trying to lose weight. You get to count the lowest weight of the week. That means that's the lowest weight at your most dehydrated. Some other weight loss programs have you calculate the average of the week. But you don't get, either way, no matter what method you choose, you don't get to just have one measurement and make that one measurement as like what best depicts the state of your water weight, because that's simply not how it works. Like, your weight is supposed to be going up and down on a daily basis. That's just what it does. And one measurement is just not a good representation because you might be at your most, let's say, your highest water retention, where you're the most bloated and all of that. So remedy for that is first understand water weight. Go watch the video. And second, weigh yourself more often. Don't just take into account this one measurement. Double check it. keep weighing yourself to see what is a better representation of reality. Now let's move on to reason number 2. And reason number 2, and that is very true, especially for people who have the scale ruin their day or ruin their weeks. And that is self-doubt about whether you will succeed with weight loss. Let's say you step on the scale and the scale hasn't moved while you were expecting it to move. That can happen, especially if it's like day 3, day 4, day 5, or 1 week or maybe more where you are trying to lose weight. Okay, so you are expecting to see that scale move and the scale is not moving. And that's just one example. And that might make you feel very negative. It might, like for some people, it drives them crazy. It ruins their day. And some people, it can really ruin their week. So let's talk about that because that is caused by self-doubt. So what happens here is that you have the scale is showing a number. And then you make that number mean something about your future. It's not the number that's the problem. It's what you think about it. So let's just do this experiment. Forget the scale. Let's say if you're trying to now lose weight, let's think about how you're never going to lose weight. No matter what you do, you'll stay stuck. You'll just, despite your best efforts, you'll always have that problem. How do you feel now? Doesn't this put you in a bad mood? That was just an experiment to show you that it's the thoughts you're thinking that create your bad mood. You don't need the scale to, let's say, not move for you to have those thoughts. You can just have those thoughts on your own and go feel bad on your own. Now, why will you do that? You can also do the opposite. You don't need the scale to validate the fact that you will go ahead and lose all the weight and meet your goals. You can think in a set way. You can think about how you're making progress, about the new habits you're creating, how you're going to keep on doing your walking and your salads and whatever it is you're doing, and build yourself up and feel optimistic and put yourself in a good mood. And you don't need the scale to move to validate your efforts to make you feel good, okay? So this way, you separate the number of the scale with what you think about yourself. So no matter what the scale shows you, you always have the choice to think as the person who will go ahead and lose all the weight, or as the person who will struggle with weight loss and will always have a problem. And that has to do with your personal interpretation of what that number means. Because you can have a higher number and be like, okay, it's because I'm waiting for my period. Or you can have a higher number and be like, well, it's because I'm not going to lose weight no matter what I'm doing. And again, whatever I'm doing is not working and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm in a really bad mood. Okay, that's a simple example around this. Now, there's more to self-doubt than I have already discussed. And that is when you are obsessed with the scale. Let's discuss that. That's either when you're obsessed with the numbers or either when you have an aversion to weigh yourself, because that also has to do with self-doubt. So what do I mean by that? The scale just provides you with data because the scale is a tool and it's a tool that measures your weight. Another tool, let's say, is the speedometer in your car. The speedometer in your car shows you the speed of the car. Now imagine you had an aversion to looking at the speedometer and you were like, no, I don't want to look at it, I don't want to look at it. That is a recipe for you to either get into a car accident or get the ticket at the very least. Now imagine that all you want to do was look at the speedometer and you were just obsessed with it. And instead of looking at the street as you're driving, you were just obsessed with the speedometer. That's also a recipe for an accident because you're not supposed to be fixated with the speedometer. You're supposed to be looking at the street. And it's the same thing with the scale. Okay, a healthy relationship with the scale is when you can use it as data to maybe make some adjustments or not. Having an aversion to weigh yourself or being obsessed with it are both unhealthy. And they both have to do with how you're thinking about them. So the speedometer is a great example because most people don't have an obsession or an aversion with it. And same with most tools, like talking, let's say, about the car light. Let's say you wanted to measure your tire pressure. I don't have an aversion in the sense that, I'd rather just do something else than just measure the pressure of my car, of my tires. But, if I have to do it, okay, I'm going to do it. But it's not like, oh my God, I'm going to measure the tire pressure. Oh no. It's just that this whole thing is created with the thoughts you're coming up with. And the thoughts you're coming up with ultimately have to do with whether you're the person who doubts herself or the person who believes that you're going to get there. And that can be a choice because you can adjust those thoughts, you can tweak them so that they help your mental health, okay? So if your thoughts make you freak out, start questioning them. Is it really true you will not get to your weight? Is it really true that what you're doing is not working? Okay, because it's a fact that you, let's say, made some positive changes, and it's a fact you keep making even more of them. So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. But spent a lot of time on this, so I want to move on to the next one, which is also very deep, and that's the fear of being judged, okay? So let's say you don't want to weigh yourself because you're afraid that other people will judge you based on that number. That is clearly related to weight stigma. So I briefly mentioned that in my weight loss, in my body positivity video, okay? You can go and watch that over there, okay? How to be body positive when you're losing weight. And that has to do with positive qualities being assigned to people who are thin and negative qualities being assigned to people who are overweight or are obese. Like, let's say some people think that people who have overweight or obesity are lazy, for instance. That's like very common, or have let themselves go. These are some very typical negative qualities that are implicit bias and are related to weight stigma. Okay, so if you're afraid you're being judged, it's very likely that you think that the other person has that, or to at least some degree. It's also very likely that you yourself believe it to some degree. And I'm going to tell you one example that happened in coaching. Okay, so I was talking with this client, and she was saying that she was going out, she would go out to a bar with a friend of hers, but they both have extra weight, and they kind of feel like, this is not the place for them. It's kind of like this place is for slim, cool people, and, you're not slim, so you're not as cool and you shouldn't be there. So she had that fear that somebody would just tell them, hey, you can't be there. And that's just based on their weight. She had that fear. Now that's all weight stigma that was living in her head. So I asked her, hey, let's say if instead of having extra weight, let's say if you were black, okay, and somebody just walked over to you and said, hey, you can't be here because you're black. What would you think of that person? Other than, this person is racist, then a number of swear words would probably come up to describe this racist person. And she could clearly see that this behavior speaks volumes about the person who's executing it. So if somebody were to actually say that to you or even think that about you, and it has to do nothing with the person who would be on the receiving end of that. So it was easy to see that for someone else who might suffer discrimination for a different reason. And that was helpful to see that, hey, like, that's just a bias. It says nothing about me, okay? So after you realize that these are biases, and by the way, sometimes the other person might not even have those biases that you, like, meaning you might have them, or you might be afraid that other people have them, but the other person whose opinion you're trying to control might not have that bias, because you can control other people's opinions. People are going to think whatever they want to think. They have infinite ability to surprise you with how differently they might be thinking than what you expect them to do, okay? So whatever they're saying or not saying, they might be making assumptions or different assumptions, like you don't really know what they're thinking. But let's just say that they are indeed judging you the way you think they're judging you. This judgment reveals information about them and not really anything about you. You're equally valuable and worthy irrespective of what any person says, okay? Because nothing has changed about you. So now, this one is deep. This one is deep. And sometimes it's also related with the self-doubt, like the combination of two. It's a recipe for like strong fear to get on the scale. Now, let's move on to the next one. Fear that you may actually need to lose weight. Now, when that happens when, let's say, you're back from holidays, you don't want to weigh yourself because you don't want to see what happens when you were on holiday. Sometimes it has to do with overwhelm, okay, meaning, oh, all the things I'll have to do. And it also has to do with diet mentality, meaning people who restrict themselves, who deprive themselves in order to lose weight, naturally will not want to deprive themselves again to lose weight. So you will naturally not want to discover that, let's say, you gained weight because you don't want to have to deprive yourself to lose weight. There is another way. What we're doing in the Fitness Building Habits Academy, we do not deprive ourselves, and also we do not overwhelm you, because you're going to start with small steps, change your habits one by one so that you lose weight through lifestyle change, eating more food, not less. My point is, there are other ways out there, and you should stop trying to lose weight through deprivation, because that just keeps you on the rat race of weight loss. Because you will be depriving yourself, losing some weight, and you're going to be gaining some because just the environment is so obesogenic. Please go watch that video. It's going to be tremendously helpful. The environment will always be trying to make you gain weight, because that's simply the problem we have nowadays, okay? Our lives are too convenient, and there's an overabundance of food that makes you want to overeat. Eat that food that's calorie dense. So the environment will be trying to make you gain weight. And if your strategy is deprivation, then you will always have to do that. So I don't blame you for being afraid to step on the scale. I wouldn't want to step on that scale either if I thought that, if I found a number that I didn't like, then I would have to deprive myself. That's not fun. So I hope you like this video. Please let me know if you have a fear of the scale. Which one was mostly representative of you, and what strategies are you going to use so that you relax around it and you are able to use the scale as a simple tool that gives you a number and nothing that says anything about your personal worth, and definitely not something that you want to avoid. Okay, just another number. Just be cool and chill around it. Okay, I hope you like this video. Please like, subscribe, and click the notifications button so you know when I release another one. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you again in the next one. Goodbye.